is the Page Publishing Book Club. How you doing? I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. You never know when those little games you make up when your kids are little might turn into a book. Like this one, The Party Beneath the Oak Tree.
Okay, so my name is Sherry Voigt. I am the author of a book called The Party Beneath the Oak Tree. It is a story about an ant who is crawling through the grass. It was inspired when my daughter was about 3. She is now in college. And it was a memory game that I played. There was an actual ant crawling through the grass. And I said, look at the ant. I wonder where he's going. And we decided he was going to the party beneath the oak tree and wondered who he was going to come across on his journey to the party. So and there is a beetle and a ladybug, a butterfly and caterpillar and other insects like that. And it was a memory game that I would say, I wonder who he's going to run into. So there's a ladybug. So then I had her repeat the ant and the ladybug were crawling through the grass on their way to the party beneath the oak tree, and they ran into and she would have to add a bug. So usually we would play this a couple times a week sitting outside until she got to the memory of 10 bugs. You can add your own bugs to the story, and then you have to keep repeating them. And pretty soon you're pretty much telling your own story. It's very simple, and they all become friends, and they all end up gathering beneath the oak tree for the party, and then it begins to rain, and they come together as a team, and they use a big oak leaf and sticks to make a canopy so they could have the party beneath the oak tree.
Oh, that's really sweet. Are these bugs from a particular area?
Well, we're in Cincinnati, Ohio. So it was just, there's a caterpillar, a grasshopper, a worm, a butterfly, a ladybug, an actual fly, a cricket.
Yeah, because I'm thinking depending on what part of the country you live in, you could add like a tarantula, a scorpion.
Right. A black widow. Yeah, so that is, like I try to say, you can go ahead and add your own bugs to the story.
So your daughter was 3 when you started doing this with her. What made you write the book now that she's in college?
She wrote a paper about this story that I used to play with her. And her teacher said, this is a wonderful story. And then I was telling people about it, and they were like, you really should put that into book form. So finally, here we are. It's in book form.
Okay. And, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So are you finding ways to promote it?
It's word of mouth, family members, Facebook. I was talking with Barnes & Noble because it is on their website as well as Amazon. Before the pandemic hit, I was just in there talking with one of the managers and their marketing director who happened to be there and wanted me to set up, like a book signing for like the spring. And then here we are in the middle of this pandemic. So I've been doing this. I've been offering you buy the book, mail it to me. I will autograph it and put the child's name in the book saying, hi, Mary Ann, I hope you enjoy my story about the ant, and things like that.
Is that working?
Yes, they love it because I sent a book to one of my friend's grandchildren, and when they opened the book, they said, oh, that's my name in the book.
Nice, Sherry. Great idea. Thank you. Proof drugs don't always win, and there is life after addiction. In our next book, From Dope to Destiny.
All right, hi, my name is Jay Romel. I'm the author of From Dope to Destiny. I am originally from Jamaica, Queens, New York. I write. I am a commentator for a radio show host. I have a morning talk show called the Jay Romel Morning Show. 14 years old, became a drug addict on crack cocaine and marijuana and alcoholism. Went through a lot of bad things. No dad. No real relationship with my mom. Lost a lot of great people that were in my life that could have really made a difference, but they passed on. Dropped out of school at 15, 16 years old, became a teen dad.
When did you hit rock bottom?
After I had gotten married, and I just tried to commit suicide. I mean, I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew I was destroying myself and wasn't making my wife happy. I had children, and I was trying to do the right thing, but the drugs had me, and I just wanted to give up on life. And I attempted suicide.
So what turned you around?
Seeing what drugs was doing, not just to me, but to my community, my children. I had to make a decision. It was either, okay, I can't die. I can't kill myself. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at drugs. So let me try the other side of life. And one day I came home, I went in the bathroom, and I fell on my knees, and I prayed to my God. And that's what happened. I never went to a rehab or anything like that. It was basically a cold turkey commitment that I made to myself and my family. And 20 years later, I've been sober ever since, never relapsed. I ended up going back to school, got my GED, and did some college. From there, many doors started opening up to me. I was on the advisory board for junior high schools, did commencement speaking, and that opened up the whole career for me to do motivational speaking. So I've spoken in Atlanta and up and down the Eastern Seaboard, just telling my story. And it's been successful. A lot of people have reached back out to me and say, hey, man, your story changed my life. Your story has made a difference in my life. And that's what the purpose of the book is. The purpose of the book is to touch somebody so strong that it changes their life, or at least puts them on the road to considering a change in their life. Yeah. So social media has become my friend. I do Zoom, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, Twitter, and I've got a lot of great feedback. The book is doing fairly well, and I've been asked to do various radio shows. This is about the 7th radio show in the past few weeks I've done. And just people want to know the story. People are curious. The title alone has grabbed a lot of people's attention, and now they're asking me, what is this book about? So I'm really excited. I'm happy about the book, and I'm happy what it's going to do for the world. And I really hope people reach out and take a look at this book and really absorb my story and the message that's in it.
I hope so too, J. Romel. You've certainly worked hard for it. Thank you. The Final Adventures of Fashion Girl wraps up the trilogy about a superwoman and her gang of fearless feministas, the Style Chicks and Archangels, destined to stop a gang of evil goths from terrorizing the country and take down their leader, Lucifer.
I am Robbie Graham. I live in Miami, Florida. I'm a retired retail worker. I'm the author of the Fashion Girl trilogy, The Adventures of Fashion Girl, The Further Adventures of Fashion Girl, and The Final Adventures of Fashion Girl. My mother was a former newspaper columnist and journalist, and after she passed away, I started writing these stories initially for fan fiction. I wanted to try to get Fashion Girl to be the next chapter in the Scooby-Doo franchise. I had Daphne Blake as the original Fashion Girl. I retooled the character to make it her daughter, and unlike her famous mother, she doesn't solve mysteries. She knows who her adversaries are, and she solves actual cases. In the first book, I introduced her group of allies, the Style Chicks. They all each possess certain powers. There's Tiffany, the Queen of Bling. Like Fashion Girl, she possesses super strength, and she's also the comedian of the group. Then there's Penny Dillard, who's a sorceress. She can become anything or anybody. She can produce any object at will. All she has to do is think about it, and poof, there it is. By profession, she is a professional golfer on the LPGA Tour. Then there's Victoria. She's the lookout of the group. When any kind of trouble anywhere in the world pops up, she alerts the others. In the last story of the first book, Fashion Girl dreamt of becoming evil, very evil. She tried to stop a gang of evil goths terrorizing the country. Their leader, Lucifer, seduced and impregnated several women around the country. So Fashion Girl disguised herself as a goth and tried to stop this gang from the inside out. But instead, she too got seduced and wound up pregnant with 6 children. But in the first story of the second book, she woke up. It was all a dream, but it shook Fashion Girl to the core. And she even had an audience with the devil himself. She actually told him that there were 3 things she wanted to do with the rest of her life. Go back to school and get the college degree she missed out on by being Fashion Girl. She also wanted to be a mother. And then by the end of this story, she did discover that she was pregnant and changed kind of heroine she wanted to be. She created the Archangels. Whatever powers Fashion Girl has, they've been multiplied by 10. She calls herself the Phoenix and can produce fire at will. And she also has the ability to fly. Now, for the Final Adventures of Fashion Girl ties up some loose ends. She did a crossover with Batman. She did a crossover with a musical group known as the Hex Girls, which is part of the Scooby-Doo franchise. And she did a crossover with She-Ra, who's also known as the Princess of Power. So Final Adventures of Fashion Girl is a series of short stories that will sort of close the book on Fashion Girl's literary career, if you will. I would like to say this in closing, that I hope that someday Fashion Girl will be mentioned in the same breath as other heroines that have come before her. And any new heroines that comes after Fashion Girl, I hope that they will look to her for guidance, advice, and moral support. Fashion Girl's time is going to come. I just hope I get to see it.
Oh, me too, Robbie. It's a great story. Thank you. Cheating couples become best friends, and one of their offspring sees a grim future for one of the four in Can You See the Wind?
My name is Joseph Gonda Catullo Sr., and I am the author of Can You See the Wind? I am a retired, self-employed butcher, and I've had 8 spinal surgeries, and that's why I am retired. I live in Youngstown, Ohio, and that is very famous, Youngstown, Ohio. It's the home of Ray Boom Boom Mancini. He was once boxing lightweight championship of the world. I graduated with him from high school. And that was as far as my education went, is high school. I watch a movie a day in the afternoon. Those are my worst times of the day, so I relax and watch a movie. And all the movies I've watched gave me ideas for my book. I didn't steal anything. It just gave me ideas how to write it. And it is about how 2 couples meet in a very unusual way, but end up becoming very, very close, closer than most families are. And it's a mystery and a fantasy as well. Can You See the Wind is not a question. It's an explanation. And that's where the mystery starts, right from the title. They meet by cheating on each other.
Great.
Without knowing each other. And once they found out, they became friends. The girls became friends through the hairdresser. And they got the guys together, and they become so close. Is the one couple as a baby boy, and the other couple, John, his name is, he is the baby boy's godfather. And the baby teleports or whatever, through the brain. He lets his godfather know what's going to happen with his death, how he's going to die. And it's where, but it's not a when. It's amazing how this little baby, every time he sees him, goes into like a trance. The baby's father is a cop, and when he does explain to the baby's father what's going on, they get mad at him. They think it's some kind of a joke, a hoax, and they get mad until it ends up coming out. And it's pretty exciting what happens.
Does he find out that his godfather's really his father because they were banging between before?
That's the question at the end. Who's the father? You know what, Alice? I don't know. I got people asking me who's the father. I said, I don't know. You tell me.
Oh,
and I'm getting 50% saying no. It's the father who's raising him, and 50% it's the godfather.
So how do people know about your book?
I had a signing here back in November. I had it at the place where I take an organ lesson.
Okay, so you got to tell the people in your organ class, and you got to do a book signing. Now what?
My son has a YouTube page, and he's going to do like an interview with me with the YouTube page as well.
So then all of his followers, is he pretty well known?
He gets about 2,000 followers.
Okay, why not?
So, yeah, I'm trying to push it out there the best I can. I want to call Hollywood.
Yeah.
I might call my friend Ray Mancini, who I was telling you about. Hey, Sylvester Stallone's his buddy.
Do it. Why not?
I'm going to try.
Let me know how you make out. We have got to take a quick break, but we're coming right back. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
We're back on the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. One of the most unpopular wars in U.S. history, Vietnam, has left countless soldiers crippled emotionally, mentally, and physically. But many of these vets, including our next author, found a way to go on.
Hi, I'm George Fennick. I live in Sterling, New Jersey. What made me write the story, there are many politicians that made millions on this war. And I want people to know that they have really cheated us. There are 20 people that run this country, and they all have billions of dollars. They control the stock markets, and I suggest that people don't play the stocks because they are crooked, and only ones to play is the ones that pay you a dividend. Okay. My book is about George Knauf and war in Vietnam from 1965 to 1966, how many soldiers fought the war. It explains how the infantry companies that served in South Vietnam, what they did, as well as my own experience. Following pages will tell you the story of what the soldiers in South Vietnam did and explain the horrors of war, killing people, facing death, traumatic stress, and how soldiers handled the war. The battalion would go through rice paddies, dikes, and they would be killed, and we all come back with traumatic shock, bad dreams, and Ancient Orange that is killing us as we are dying. When I got back and writing this book, I was dying. I had joined the Holy World Outreach Church, and God had made me stronger, and now I can only walk with a cane. But if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here today. I would be dead. I don't think people want to really understand the war. They really know that all these politicians are running this country, and now they just don't give a darn. I am going to see my friends, 3 left out of the 2nd Battalion, 34th Infantry, this year at New Mexico, and we will discuss what we have lost in the last 3 years that we haven't seen each other.
Do they know that you wrote this book?
Not yet. They will find out when I go to Mexico.
There you go. I just want to thank you for your service. And I've interviewed so many Vietnam vets who feel the same way you do, who suffered terribly. People don't understand what it was like for you guys to come home from a war that nobody wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, they spit at you and throw beer cans at you. Yep.
Did you have a family to come home to?
Yes, I did. My wife. Now I'm married about 34 years. I've been impotent now for 17 years, and it's hard on the wife and me, but we have to live with it. And the guys who go to fought in these like Desert Storm and in the desert, the uranium will do the same thing to them. They will find out in 2 to 3 years after they get out of the service, they will become impotent. I hope and pray that they will accept it like I did.
All right, George. Thanks again for your service and for sharing your story. Our next author is also a vet, and he has no doubt the Lord works in mysterious ways. The name of his book, Surrounded by Angels.
My name is John Matthews. Hello. And I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a disabled veteran, 100% disabled veteran, so I'm very well taken care of by the government. Thank God. My book, it's a true story. It's about a supernatural calling from God, and I show proof of it throughout my book. It's undeniable. If you read the book, there's no other answer left, that there is something bigger than the here and now, and it's what gets me through. I struggled with drugs all my life. Basically, it come down to one drug. It was methamphetamine, and I just couldn't break free of it, and got into it really heavy. My lifestyle consumed me. I ended up going to prison. Well, before I went to prison, there was things going on. I had met someone. She had a spiritual awakening. She had found her brother hanging on a rope not long before that and couldn't get over it. And they were very close. And you could tell it left a void in her life. And then in her dream, she said she seen someone would appear to be sitting on a throne. And she said she heard a voice, "Don't worry, he's with us now." Then she saw three fours. And the three fours were actually upside down H's, and they stood for Hallelujah, Howard's in heaven. Howard was her brother. But then she said ever since then she'd had a supernatural connection with the number 44, and sometimes 444. And I thought, well, what is this? How can that be? Now, what is she talking about? These numbers, they followed her, and it was, in a way that just was beyond being normal. And I kind of blew it off and thought, well, maybe it's just something that gets her through the pain of losing her brother, who was so close. But for whatever reason, as time went on, I started seeing this connection with the number. And I thought at first, there's no way this can be happening. I had 100 different reasons to shoot it down. Well, long story short, in time, I ended up going to prison. In prison, I was looking at a very, very long prison sentence for selling cocaine. I got caught with an ounce of it. I did 2 years, and I could have had 70 years. It was just bad. And I thought my life was over, and basically it was. And I was not getting out. There was no bail. There was nothing. When I got in there, I was still seeing these numbers, and it's all in the book about how it all went on. And I'm thinking suicide, and somebody had hit a razor blade. It had just fell right beside me, and I looked down and I seen it. And I was hearing this voice in my head, and it was basically saying, just take it, go ahead and do it. I was going to walk in the bathroom and kill myself. And that's where I was at. I was giving up hope. And at that very second, all of a sudden my eyes are looking across the dorm, where there it is, the number 44. I'm looking at it. And I thought, oh my God. And I thought then, this has got to be God. Right at that moment, the razor blade falling and all that. I started reading my Bible at that point, and I just knew it had to be something going on. But finally, my court date come up. So I had a public defender. All of a sudden, he throws these papers in my lap and says, "Here it is. You got a one-time offer, take it or leave it today only." He said, "A 6 years." I was going to end up doing 3 years. They dropped all the other cases that were pending.
So out of nowhere, you get released from prison.
I didn't get released from prison, but I did get that break because I could have been doing 20 years. And 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm looking over that plea agreement. Remember, I've got this connection with the number 44 going on. And I look at it. There's a circle with a number in it. And in that circle was number 44. And I heard his voice saying, "It's a gift." And I knew then it was God. That was 2006. I picked up a pen and started writing, and I look at that book now, and I'm amazed, because where did that come from? It come from God, because he did such a beautiful job on it. I just give all credit to him.
Finally, one man's life story and the culmination of a lifelong dream to publish his poetry in the book of Now and Then.
Hello, my name is Charles McKinney. I'm the author of the book of Now and Then. It's been my lifetime dream to publish a book. I've been writing since 1968. The book follows my life from high school, graduated in 1969. It covers like the first 15 years of my life. And each one of the poems in the book is actually a little story about my life, the ups and downs, the ins and outs, people I met, situations I had to live through. Some of it was hard to write, but some things you have to set them to the side so you can have more room in your life for new things.
So you're trying to elicit feelings and pictures
Yes.
as people are reading your poems. Do you have a poem you could share with me?
Yes, I do. This poem is entitled Never, Maybe. Never had anyone to hold my hand. Never want anyone to sit, listen, understand. Never anyone with whom to share life's plan. Never anyone to call, be my friend, my man. Maybe someday, somehow, someway, I'll meet that someone with whom I'll stay. We'll love and have fun as we grow old and our hair turns gray. Maybe someday we'll do what others do. Maybe in time I'll find someone like you.
That is so sweet. Did you ever find anybody?
I'm still looking.
You're still looking.
I think I'm partially scared. But I write from inspiration, and this is written January 14th of 2020. And I wake up and I'll have these words going through my head, and the only way to clear them out is to write them down. Maybe I'll get the first 4 lines of poetry, and then I'll fill in the rest. And whatever I start with, like the never had anyone, I like to end my poems up by repeating that particular sentence. I've never had anyone, but maybe in time I'll find someone like you. So, and that goes on. And if I don't write, I found out that inspiration is not something you can't remember it. It's there for the moment. And if you don't record it for the moment, that moment in life is gone. If nothing else, I'll pull over to the side of the road if I'm driving and scribble down the first 3 or 4 lines. I carry a notebook with me so I can record those inspirational moments, and then I can kind of go back and fill in the rest.
Are there any open mic nights, or is there anywhere where you can recite your poetry?
Well, here in Fort Worth, where I've lived for the last 3 years, there were quite a number of open mic places. And in Arlington, there were open mic. But with COVID-19, all of that's been kind of shut down.
I know, Charles, I know. We hear it every week. But you know what? This virus is not going to be with us forever. We know that. We just have to keep going, keep writing, share those frustrations, use your quarantine wisely. All right, that's it for this edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. If you missed anything, 710WOR.com is the place to go download the podcast. Thank you, authors. Thank you, my fellow insomniacs, for dropping by. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Catch you next time.